All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Orange Crush Podcast, The Aftermath. Today, David and I are in Blacksburg, Virginia, off of the heels of a Clemson victory, 24-14. The Tigers prevail against the Virginia Tech Hokies in a resounding response in the second half, filled with circus catches and unbelievable plays from the Tigers. David, it looked like the Tigers might have been dead on arrival entering the third quarter, but a flurry of points keeps not only their ACC title hopes slightly alive, their postseason hopes come along with it. Not the perfect game, but just enough to get the win on the road and kick off this road trip. What were your immediate thoughts? I know you had some really good stuff in the post-game column.
Well, first of all, you think about the old song, Mr. Sandman, Bring Me a Dream, about putting kids to sleep. And then, of course, you have Enter Sandman, the great, Metallica song, which is about somebody going to sleep. And Clemson really sleepwalked through the first half. A blocked field goal. The offense dropped passes and penalties. And you thought, okay, well, are we just going to sleepwalk through this one? But yes, resounding response, 14 points in the third quarter, 10 in the fourth. They go up 24-7. Virginia Tech gets that kind of late touchdown. Do have a lot of thoughts about this one. Number one, let's talk about how you and I talked on the podcast late in the week about some of our keys, and two of them were pretty good. Stop the run. Obviously, they did that. The offense got into a rhythm. But you and I had discussed about the possibility of Sammy Brown starting at linebacker. And lo and behold, 47's out there. Starts at the middle linebacker or Mike linebacker spot. You've got Mike, Will, Sam. Sam is strong side, Will is weak side, Mike is middle. Barrett Carter over on the weak side, and then they put Wade Woodez back at the spot he played last year, the nickel Sam. But Sammy Brown comes out, makes a 3-yard a tackle for a 3-yard loss on the first play with TJ Parker. Leads the Tigers in tackles, but he was only one part of a really good freshman performance.
Yeah, Ashton Hampton came in relief of Jaden Lucas, and Elyjah Thurmon. I think the big shocker of the evening was seeing Tristan Lee go down with an ankle injury, and Thurmon pops out. The first time we've seen him in relief of anybody all year, and plays against one of the best defensive linemen in the ACC, maybe the country, and kicks some tail this Saturday evening. Got to talk to TJ Parker about it after the game, got to talk to Cade Klubnik, and just said, hey, we've seen it in practice. We've seen that this kid can compete. His time was coming. And it did show up on Saturday, really, when they needed some life. He provided some time for Klubnik and this offense to finally wake up and get going. But on your point about Sammy Brown, what really stuck out to me is you leave Woodaz and Carter on the outside and you let their athleticism take over, and you really got to see a different look from this Wes Goodwin defense that we really haven't seen, David, all year, it feels like, from this unit. Really took down a Virginia Tech offense that is ranked 20th in the nation in rush yards and either per carry or just total, and you stifle them for only 31 yards on the ground. A really impressive outing from them. Kept Clemson in this game when it looks like it was teetering on, as you said, a sleepwalking kind of event. They were about to sleepwalk off of a ledge offensively until they got going. But yeah, Sammy Brown really was that Kickstarter that really led the night for this team.
Now, here's my stat of the night, and this is me playing the part maybe of a devil's advocate a little bit. Yes, Clemson's defense great against the run. You had all those stats there. If I'm a Virginia Tech fan, I'm questioning my coaching staff because I'm going to ask you a question here. How many carries did Virginia Tech have from the tailback spot tonight?
It didn't really feel like too much. It felt like it was drones for a bit, but it felt like they really got away from what made them special. So it might have been, I think, when we review this game and we rewatch it, yes, Clemson did have some big moments on the run game, but it didn't really feel like they were really pressing the issue after watching maybe that Louisville film. Am I correct on that?
Yeah. 4 carries from the running back spot for Virginia Tech tonight.
Wow. 4. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
How many? 21
Kyron
total
Drones
carries
had
between
11.
4 rushers. Wow. Really?
Yeah, 4. Yeah, it was Drones and Schlee and 1 wide receiver carry, and Tootin had 4, and that's it.
I'm doing the surrender cover right now. If I'm a VT fan, you're going, Did we not watch Louisville run all over this team
Yeah,
a week ago?
Schlee had 5 carries. Obviously, those were all scramble. Drones had 11. Tootin had 4, and Lane, who's a wide receiver, he had 1, and that's all that they did. So if you're a Virginia Tech fan, you go, man, why did you line up in power spread, I formation? If you knew that Tootin wasn't healthy, why did you put him out there? Because pretty soon Clemson was going to figure out that he was nothing but a decoy. He eventually got hurt, and all pretense of trying to run the football went out the window. So, yes, props to Clemson. But if I'm a Virginia Tech fan, I'm going, what were you thinking?
Yeah, seriously, what in the world from Brent Pry there? I'm scratching my head, and it's almost midnight. Like I've been a couple hours removed from this game. I feel like I have an idea. It really felt like, though, in general, this defense, where it felt like last week, Louisville, especially sometimes after the run, there were big plays that just you and I would look at each other in the box and go, where in the world is that guy kind of coming from? And there's just a toughness from this team. Like talking to TJ Parker, it was more relief after this contest of, man, we really like this is what we're about. It's been weeks really of hearing, well, the writing's on the wall. If they play a team with a pulse, and they did tonight, how's this going to go? So they probably, I know Sweeney says we don't read that stuff, but I'm sure they're reading something. They're reading some sort of tweet or some sort of angle, and heading up to Blacksburg, it's a pretty somber week where your playoff chances are probably vanquished, and they're sort of back. We can touch on that maybe at the end about where Clemson sort of stands there, but I was pretty impressed with the defense, and I was impressed with this team's resolve at entering the third quarter. It could have easily been oh shoot, enter a 4-letter word into here going, here we go. This could be another just stinker, and it didn't turn out that way.
It was not a stinker, and this offense. First of all, props to Jake Brenningstool, who has been up and down at times this year, but he has 3 receptions now, 113 in his career. How fitting is it that the 113th of his career went for a touchdown, in which he kind of broke some tackles and carried a couple of guys into the end zone. He now is Clemson's all-time leading receiver for a tight end with 113, breaking the record that Jordan Leggett held for a while of 112. So props to Jake. I thought maybe his best play of the night, though, was a block that he put on a linebacker during Moffa's run over to the sideline. So you started to see some things out of the offense, especially there in the third quarter, that gave you hope that maybe they were starting to figure some things out a little bit. You hope so. Special teams. Let me go there really fast.
Yeah,
Everybody's all about let's fire the special teams coach. Clemson now has 6 blocked kicks. 5 of those are blocked field goals. 1 is an extra point. I can look at 4 of those blocked kicks, the blocked field goals, and go, yep, you know what? They got to get that fixed. The one tonight, I've gone back and looked at it a couple times. It looks like they fixed the blocking. It was just a low kick. And that's going to be on your kicker. So, they moved Walker Parks over to the left side. Ronan O'Connell changed numbers. He's over there on the right side. So it looked like they really tried to shore all of that up with some big offensive linemen, and then the kid goes out and has a low trajectory kick that's returned 77 yards for a touchdown.
It'll be interesting to see how Sweeney confirms that tomorrow night, because I'm sure it'll be asked. And obviously, as he always says, the film is the truth teller in this situation for a variety of reasons. And I think maybe for Hoosier, it's really fascinating. I got a text from somebody that said, man, Clemson finally has a kicker and they can't block for him, especially after the mess that was last year, the up and down with Jonathan Whites and Robert Gunn. And I think for Hoosier, just having so many kicks blocked already this year, your internal clock starts to speed up. And I think maybe this one just got away from him. That they shorted up to go up 24-7, I think it was, after the interception by Andre Miggins. So that was probably good for this group to see. Just another where Clemson's breathing for relief. And excuse the AC in our hotel room is starting to kick in if you can hear that in the background. But David, let's quickly, I would love to sort of grab your thoughts on just sort of where this team offensively is. I think you look at Klubnik's completion percentage tonight, 47%, but I counted, I think, 4 to 5 drops that would have totally swung that in a more positive favor. What did you see from him tonight? Obviously, we're going to talk about the big play that he made to TJ Moore, where That was, as TJ Parker puts it, a Heisman moment. But what'd you see from 2 tonight in a bounce back effort?
Yeah, he was 8 for 19 in the first half, so that's not very good. 8 for 15 in the second half, so a little bit over 50% there, a lot better, 130 yards that he had in the second half. And I was talking to somebody who was with the parents before the game, and they said that Cade's parents were waiting when the team buses arrived, and Cade's mom and dad was standing there, and they said Cade got off the bus and never really even looked at his parents and kind of stuck a fist out, gave a fist bump to his mom, and just kept walking, very focused. So that's good to hear. But again, really kind of a rocky start. I felt like the scheme was okay. But if you look at Maffa with a dropped pass, Antonio Williams had a big first down that would have put him deep in Virginia Tech territory. He dropped it. The field goal coulda, shoulda, would have been points, and then it gets blocked. I think there was another drop along there somewhere. And then there was a couple of times where, you go, who made a mistake? Was it the freshman wide receiver or was it your veteran quarterback? Where Cade's throwing routes to the sideline and the freshman receivers, I think Wesco did it once, Moore did it another time. They kind of keep running where it looks like Cade's expecting them to come back or to do a back shoulder throw. So then what you see out of him is he gets that sack and he fumbles the ball. Ryan Linthicum pounces on it. Maffa gains a few yards, and then they send another corner blitz. 2 times in 3 plays, Virginia Tech sends a corner blitz, and Cade slips out of it, spins around, flips around, and he's trying to run, and all of a sudden he looks down there, and TJ Moore's like, hey, I'm down here by myself. Throw it to me. And somehow he finds the arm strength to get it down there to him for a touchdown. And maybe that was a play that he needed because he skipped down the field after that touchdown, and then he skipped off the field. Maybe that's a play that can give him some confidence and change some of that momentum.
Especially after it was a rocky first half, as you said, a couple of mistakes where I think everyone looks at each other in the box going, ooh, I wouldn't have done that. I think he had a couple erratic throws. That arm punt to Briningstool was out in the face of pressure. He took a sack when he didn't need to, scrambling to the right side early in the first quarter. So, yeah, there's some mistakes that Klubnik will look on film and just sort of smack the forehead and be like, what are you doing? As a junior quarterback with plenty of starts under your belt. But that play, pure magic. And I listened to the Mark Jones call. He couldn't believe it. Good friend over there that was very gracious of his time when he's called some Clemson games. But how do you do? Cade Klubnik with that throw to TJ Moore. Something maybe momentum can boost you forward. It looked like he was physically and mentally exhausted after this game. I think probably, and he meant it this week, he was in probably the facility for a good portion of the week, just draining all of his energy into trying to find a way to win this game. So I think for him, it had to feel great to get this one to go. I think we have something on TigerNet coming up tomorrow about it. But man, you got to feel for him getting that kind of special moment, David. And this offense, it wasn't perfect, but they were able to shore it up and make the big plays when they needed to. And now they move to a Pitt team that has just fallen to Tony Elliott's Virginia squad. So that'll probably eliminate the top 25 inter-squad ACC matchup there. But David, before we go, before you have any final thoughts on VT, let's talk about the outside chance Clemson finally or sort of has now in the ACC championship race with Miami falling to Georgia Tech this Saturday afternoon as we were watching before they kicked off. GT with a big upset, and Clemson has some life now in the ACC championship race.
Yeah, they still need SMU or Miami to lose twice. Miami would have to lose one more time. Clemson, of course, needs to beat Pitt next week in order to have a chance. And so Pitt, I think Eli Holstein went out tonight. Yep. Apparently he got hit, so he went out. Their starting receiver was out. I don't know how healthy Pitt is going to be in that game next week, but now they're on a 2-game losing streak. For Clemson, it's kind of like, Miami has to play, I think, Wake Forest next week, but then they end the season in the Loud House. They have to go to Syracuse and play up there in that dome, which is really hot. I'm just kidding. I always say that. But it's really hot and it's really loud, and funny things have happened in that dome, and you never know what's going to happen. Can SMU lose twice? Sure they can. But for Clemson, I sent somebody a text afterward, and I said there's a pulse. It's flickering, it's thready, but there's still a pulse there. And then I was talking after the game to a bowl representative who was trying to kind of let me know, what some of the ACC bowl tie-ins, what they're thinking. And something I had just, I guess, didn't think about. The Pop-Tarts Bowl has the first choice of ACC teams of the team that doesn't make the college football playoff. So in other words, let's say that SMU and Miami both make the CFP. Well, then Clemson would, if they went out, would probably go to the Pop-Tarts Bowl. But I think there's just so much football left to be played. We've seen so much chaos. Georgia fans, Georgia suffered their second loss today. They're thinking they're in the playoff. I don't know what's going to happen. It's just crazy right now. And watching Miami lose to Georgia Tech today, you think to yourself, man, anything's possible.
You mentioned that there's a pulse. That's like Clemson's on the table that is in desperate need of life support, and the doctor read, "Oh, there's a pulse. There's something here. We can start to beat down on the chest. Maybe get some breaths in there. There's some life." And I think for Clemson fans, that's all you can ask for after the Louisville result. And maybe we'll look back, David, onto the conclusion of the season and go, "Well, you didn't want to put your fate in the hands of somebody else," because it looks like Miami probably will win out, and SMU, looking at their schedule, probably going to win out as well. But hey, in November, anything can happen. Georgia just lost to an Ole Miss team I thought was overrated. So how about that? Shout out to Lane Kiffin if he ever watches the Orange Crush podcast. That would be something else. But as we wrap this thing up, we want to thank you for your support, guys. David's been telling me that there's been a ton of people come up to him because obviously he's a celebrity in Clemson. So, of course, people come up to David. But people thanking us for the podcast and being so supportive. So it means a lot to hear the enthusiasm around this show. David, any final thoughts before we wrap up and get ready for another travel week to Pittsburgh?
Yeah, no, I think we're probably all on the same page. Can't wait to get to Pitt next week. Do need a little bit of rest between now and then. But, we said it a couple of weeks ago. College football is crazy right now. And I think we're going to see a lot of crazy as we end the year.
Crazy, man. That's going to be our word for November at TigerNet. Crazy. So get ready for plenty of coverage. We'll have Dabo Sweeney tomorrow night to give us a quick little recap on Virginia Tech, and then it's on to the Panthers. So thank you guys as always. Thank you to our sponsors, Herb Tyler, Lisa Nason. You guys are great. Thank you for making the podcast possible. Guys, subscribe to TigerNet if you haven't yet already, and stay tuned for more throughout the week. We got some good stuff as the season draws to a conclusion. Guys, thank you. Take care and have a good one.